Morning, everyone. Welcome to our very first session in English for Science and Technology. It's wonderful to have you here. Today, we're setting off on a journey into the language of logic, the way English connects one idea to another. You see, in science, clarity isn't just about the right formula or the right measurement. It's about how clearly we express relationships between things, what causes what depends on what, and what follows from what. That's where subordinate clauses come in. They're the quiet engines of explanation. The little structures that make reasoning possible, whether we're describing an experiment, explaining a result, or outlining a process, these clauses hold everything together. So, welcome to Lesson 1, Review of Subordinate Clauses. Sentences are the building blocks of writing. A sentence should contain no unnecessary words, a paragraph no unnecessary sentences, for the same reason that a drawing should have no unnecessary lines and a machine no unnecessary parts. So sentences are the basis for more extended writing. Without them, without fully understanding how they relate to one another, no paragraph is ever going to see light. So that's why our writing course begins with the sentence. Without strong, correct sentences, paragraphs cannot stand properly. You're not going to learn how to write a paragraph until you first learn how to write a correct sentence. By the end of the lesson, you will be able to use subordinate clauses to express different logical relationships between clauses. You're going to basically know of both types, subordinate and main clauses in a sentence, and then differentiate between those two types of clauses and what relationships they carry: condition, cause effect, purpose, or concession. You're also going to combine independent clauses into full sentences using appropriate subordinating conjunctions that relate to various logical relationships like condition, cause effect, purpose, or concession. And finally, you write sentences of your own expressing logical relationships. That's the major objective of the lesson. Let's start with the first logical relationship that might exist between two clauses: condition. Condition is when we have two sentences. The action of one sentence depends on the other. They're joined with the conjunction if or other conjunctions like when. These smaller sentences are called clauses. We have two small sentences like these. They are called sentences because they are both independent. The driver adds fuels. The car will start again. So here we might think of no relationship between the two sentences. But if we have two sentences and we want to join them into a full sentence and make logic between them, they're no longer independent sentences. They both start belonging into one greater sentence joined with condition, for example. Therefore, they are called clauses. If the driver adds fuels, this is a condition. The car will start again. This is the result of the condition. And the whole of it, if the driver adds fuel, the car will start again, is what we call a sentence that expresses condition. We can name now the clauses. We have two types, as we said. One is subordinate, How we know that it is subordinate? It includes a subordinating conjunction like if. So, where is the subordinate clause? If the driver adds fuels. Whereas the independent clause or main clause, it includes no conjunction. So, here is the car will start again. I can invert the subordinate and the main clause in the same conditional sentence and say the car will start again if the driver adds fuels. Let's have another example. The boiling will stop. You turn off the kettle. Obviously, there is a logical relationship between two independent sentences, so let's join them into one full sentence of two clauses. If you turn off the kettle, the boiling will stop. Okay? And I can also invert the sentences and start with the results and then go into the condition. And I say, the boiling will stop if you turn off the kettle. And here we're going to pay attention more into punctuation in conditional sentences. Basically, we have two rules. Either we put a comma, and that's after the subordinate clause, which is the conditional clause, in case it comes first or in the beginning of the sentence. We put no punctuation if the if clause comes second or if is in the middle of the sentence. As clear. Logical relationship number two is cause effect. In fact, cause effect might be expressed in two different sentences. Cause effect is when we have two clauses. Always when we say sentence relationships, it is two clauses. We are going to join two independent sentences based on the logical relationship that might bind them together. One shows the reason, which is the cause, and another sentence shows the result of that reason. We can express it through cause or through effect, depending on what conjunction we use. To express cause, the two clauses are joined with because or other synonyms like since, as, for, or we can express the same sentence in a result form, which is also called effect form. The two sentences are joined with the conjunction so or other synonyms like therefore, hence, thus, consequently, as a result, as a consequence. Let's have a few examples. The kettle is boiling, steam comes out. Steam comes out because the kettle is boiling. Where is the cause and where is the result? So we understand that this is a cause sentence because we used because. Now, where is the dependent and where is the independent clause? Dependent clause is the same as subordinate clause. So here the dependent clause is because the kettle is boiling. The main clause or independent clause is steam comes out. Always remember subordinate clauses or dependent clauses start with the conjunction. They cannot stand alone. Okay? We can also here invert the same cause sentence and say, because the kettle is boiling, steam comes out. Let's express the same sentence in a result form or effect form. I say the kettle is boiling, so steam comes out. Here we have the same two independent sentences, but we join them to express result and not cause, and we used so. Another example, the car stopped, the car has no fuel. Where is the cause and where is the result? The cause in this sentence is the car has no fuel. It ran out of fuel. What is the result of having no fuel? The car stopped. So if I want to express cause, logically, I place because before the cause sentence and I say the car stopped because it has no fuels. If I want to express result, I say the car has no fuels, so it stopped. We always come into the punctuation rule, and we have three rules here. Using subordinating conjunctions starting with because, since, and as. Obviously, they express cause. When the cause comes after the effect, no comma is used. Let's have an example. He stayed home because he was sick. So when we have these conjunction in the middle of the sentence, they need no punctuation. When the cause, however, comes first or in the beginning of the sentence, we add a comma before the effect. Because he was sick, he stayed home. When we use coordinating conjunctions, so and for, we use a comma before so or for because so and for always come in the middle of the sentence. It was raining, so we cancelled the trip. He was tired, for he had worked all night. Final rule of punctuation in cause-effect sentences concerns the use of conjunctive adverbs like therefore, thus, hence, consequently, on, as a result, as a consequence. When we use these connectors, we place a semicolon before and a comma after these very conjunctive adverbs. For example, the experiment failed, semicolon, therefore, comma, we repeated the procedure. Another example, she missed the meeting, semicolon, as a result, comma, she had to read the notes later. Mind here, in cause sentences, we can invert the sentences. Therefore, we can have a cause sentence that starts with the cause subordinate clause, and then after it comes the effect independent clause. As we can start with the effect independent clause, then the conjunction, then after it comes the cause clause. However, in effect sentences, there is always one order: cause, conjunction, result. So we cannot invert the clauses in effect sentences, but we can invert them in cause sentences.